Welcome everybody, Souldin of the Grin Bros here, and it's time for another episode of Tea Time. Today's tea is Ceylon tea, and I'm having it with milk, and let's see, I'll read a bit of the description. High in the Dimbula region of Sri Lanka, I at least can say that word, once Ceylon, the tea bushes grow slowly in the cool, clean air. This produces a fine quality crop that gives our blend an intense bright taste and rich golden colour. Crisp and satisfying, this is a tea to enjoy at any time of the day. And, it's a black tea and I tend to enjoy most of those, so hopefully this will be a nice one. But yeah, today's tea, Ceylon tea. And this tea time, which probably like the 51st, maybe 52nd, it's probably going to be like the first tea time after the 50th tea time we ended up having. But today's tea time is actually the reintroduction of something I did once before with tea time. Today's tea time is a kickoff. Now, the kickoff isn't actually anything related to football, despite the name. Kickoff is actually a sort of like sub-series of tea time I was planning on sort of doing, wherein I talk about Kickstarter games, and currently a game that is being done through Kickstarter. The reason for this is not because I've been paid to. Oh gosh, I wish I was. Not because I've been asked to or anything, but because I usually feel very guilty about being poor, basically. I come across these Kickstarters that I really like the look of, but I don't have much money on me, and so I can't support them very much. And this results in me only supporting them by a little bit, and I'm worried, will they reach their goal? So I started thinking of an idea called Kickoff, where I'd talk about some of these games and try to promote them a little to make up for the lack of funds I've got. It's the only thing I could really think of to try and help it out, given I don't myself have Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. All the only sort of stuff I have like that is the Grin Brothers stuff. But YouTube video through the Grin Brothers, that's the best way I can think of to try and promote some of these Kickstarter games that I'm unable to fund. And for today's kickoff, something that has sort of been brought up before in Tea Time actually, is a game called Fable Fortune. Now, the name kind of gives it away, but it's actually a game connected to the Fable IP. And one of my Tea Times was actually about basically mourning the closure of Lionhead Studios and the cancellation of Fable Legends, a game I was very much looking forward to. And, yeah, there's a Kickstarter for a game called Fable Fortune, and it's a officially licensed Fable game, being made by a bunch of people who used to work at Lionhead Studio. So, to explain, the studio behind Fable Fortune is a group called Flaming Fowl. They're made up of ex-Lionhead Studio developers and staff, and they were, at the time of being a part of Lionhead Studios, working on a side project that no one else seemed to know about. They'd been working on this for like 18 months, but of course when Fable Legends was cancelled and Lionhead Studios closed, this additional project they were working on ended up being cancelled as well. However, setting up their own studio, they've been able to ask Microsoft to allow them to have the sort of rights to Fable and try and finish off the project. They just don't have the funding for it, and such they've turned to Kickstarter. And that's how Fable Fortune's Kickstarter has come to be. On that note, what is Fable Fortune? Well, Fable Fortune, in the quickest way to explain it, is basically a Hearthstone competitor. It's a online digital trading card game using the Fable IP. And yeah, Hearthstone is like the closest comparison. It's the big one at the moment, so which is yeah, it's something I myself enjoy. However, when I tried getting Hearthstone on my laptop here, I apparently couldn't get it to run on it. At least on the sort of additional profile I've got, I could only run it on like the Grin Brothers profile. I'm not gonna play games on the games on the Grin Brothers profile PC, of course. But I really do enjoy card games, and I really like the idea of digital card games to solve various issues that happen with them, like constant new cards being introduced and balance issues, which, being an online card game, they can actually just patch that in rather than having to reprint a card or just remove a card from existence sort of thing. So I like the concept of online trading card games, but I haven't been able to play many of them because most of them are computer focused. Fable Fortune, whilst it's also planned for a PC release, it's also coming out for the Xbox One, of course, because, you know, Fable, Microsoft IP. So naturally that has my attention, along with the fact that, of course, it's Fable IP. Which, as you may know from the previous Kickstarter videos, and I think I've mentioned it a few times in Grin Brothers videos, that I do enjoy the Fable IP. The Kickstarter goal is £250,000 to sort of get funded. I think at the moment, let me just quickly check. I've got here to check up some machine. At the time of recording, it's like around 50,000. But of course, this will come out like a couple days after I've actually recorded this. So who knows? It may have boosted up quite a bit or only a little bit by then. In any case, yeah, so I'm basically made this video to talk about Fable Fortune and try to promote a bit and, you know, try to see if anyone else is interested in funding it. Gonna try my Souldin tea quickly. I can't taste anything of it at the moment, actually. It's just burning hot. Rafi, he would probably be able to drink it immediately. On that note about Rafi, actually, who, as per usual, isn't here. I'm recording this at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and there's no way in heck he's getting up at the time. When I was telling Rafi about Fable Fortune, he told me the one thing as to, you know, why people should back it, and I'm going to use his exact quote here. It doesn't have so fun. Apparently, of course I haven't been playing it, because, again, laptop issues. Hearthstone's a little broken at the moment because of a card called Safun, so that was Rafi's entire reason why he's saying that, you know, why people should back Fable Fortune. He's very simple and to the point with a lot of these things. In any case, I figured I'd talk about it more. As I've pointed out, it's a digital trading card game in a similar vein to Hearthstone. You know, you have your deck, you draw your card, you summon them and try to beat the other person down to 0 health. They have a champion representing them, or a hero in this case. And you know, they'll summon cards to get in the way. You can attack the champion, well, hero, whenever you can with your own cards, but you can't do so the first time you summon them unless they have a special ability. Yada yada, you know, lots of sort of rules. They've got attack, they've got health. A very sort of simple sort of mechanic to understand. You know, it's a competitive card game, and it's got some unique features, though, to help separate it and distinguish it. For starters, instead of mana to summon, you've got gold. But you actually start off with, I believe it's like 3 gold from the get-go. So to try and speed up the process of being able to actually summon a card on the first turn, which is a really nifty idea. There's a system called guarding, which is effectively taunt. However, it can be applied to the majority of cards unless they say cannot guard on them. And it's basically you pay 1 gold to make one of your cards the guard card, or for those who play Hearthstone, taunt card. So all the enemies have to first destroy that card in order to actually be able to attack the hero. And I think that's pretty cool. You know, they've got it as like a all-round thing. And from what I've learned from the sort of Kickstarter videos and sort of the details on their Kickstarter page, which I'll probably have a link to below in the summary, so please do check it out. You know, guarding can also have special effects depending on the card. Certain cards will have sort of ability activate when guarding and stuff like that. And, you know, it's a really cool idea to sort of have it effectively where you can set which of your cards you want to be your defender. You know, sometimes you'll choose like a low defense card because you've got no others, or you want to protect your other cards. And sometimes you'll choose to guard, obviously, with the highest health card and all that. Another feature which makes it quite different is the quest and morality system. Yep, Fable's morality system even happens in Fable Fortune. Depending on what stage you play on, because the stages are all taking place across all of Albion and will have sort of obviously look different based on what stage you're playing on, and the quest you receive at the beginning of the game will also be different. The quests will have an objective on, like play 3 spells, or sort of destroy this many enemies, or guard this many times. And the point behind these quests is that when you want to achieve a quest, whatever of the quest you decide to go with, you get a morality choice to choose your hero to be going down the good path or the bad path. Going down the good and the bad path alternatively have various different effects, and depending on who you're facing or depending on your current situation, certain paths will be more viable and will be better for you. But you're not, I guess I should say this before I go on to the other part. And your cards that you can play, some of them also have morality as a ability, wherein they'll actually change themselves based on what morality you've gone with, which is a really cool idea. So that not only can your champion, your hero, change, but so can some of the cards within your deck. And so you can change up your entire gameplay style that way with just a singular deck because of which moral path you decide to go with. And the best part from what I've seen from gameplay videos is that you're not stuck with that moral path, because once you've finished a quest, you draw a new quest. And once you finish off that quest line, you can decide to stick to the moral path you already are at, or change to the opposite moral path. Again, depending on the situation, it might be more viable to. And those are some really sort of distinct ways it helps separate itself from other TCG games. There's, of course, the fact that it's using the Fable IP and licenses. So, of course, you've got all the settings of Fable. You've got the creatures of Fable popping up. The heroes are all original characters, but much like with Fable Legends, I love it when the Fable series gets creative with, the characters and lets you play as someone actually other than the hero and heroine. They're usually very good at making sort of fun, enjoyable characters. And a big reason for that is because of their humour. Fable Fortune is packed with classic British and Fable-esque humour, and of course lots of chickens, and I love chickens, so I'm not going to complain about that. Another thing they like to tout quite a bit from their videos is the co-op mode, where basically you team up with another person online to take down a boss enemy, an AI sort of boss from the Fable series, and you sort of work together to take them down, which is a pretty cool idea. Let's see, what other things are... Something that wasn't mentioned in their Kickstarter page, but they've been mentioning sort of ideas about it in their videos, which is pretty cool, is that they've been experimenting with ways to communicate with people outside of voice chat. I believe voice chat will still be an option, but having it so that you can have quick commands. One of these ideas was using the breadcrumb sort of trails, as in to make an exclamation mark, so you could tell your partner in the co-op battle, use this card using sort of various breadcrumbs, and that's a really cool idea. Okay, let me see. I'm just going to check. I decided to write some of this down just to be a little bit more thorough this time. The original Kickoff video for Sneaky Ninja, it was, which I'm so glad managed to get funded, was rather short and rather simple. Well, the very first version was kind of terribly recorded, so I had to redo the recording. I think I should also talk about Kickstarter rewards, because that's always a big thing that people like. Though on that note, a ton of the game is already done, from what I've heard. They've already got several champions, about 6 of them, hundreds of cards and 2 co-op bosses all ready to sort of go, and they've got a lot of funding. They've got a lot of it done. The core gameplay is there. From what I know, they need to add more audio, need to add more sort of champions, and one of the biggest things is they need to get the game pushed out into beta so they can obviously better balance it out from receiving user feedback, which is what the 250,000 is sort of needed for. And of course, after that, they'll actually be able to release the game. But they've got a lot of the gameplay there, so one of the sort of advantages to backing it is quite a few of the, all of the rewards pretty much allow you access to the beta. And that's a really cool thing. Now, what they've done with the rewards is they kind of separate into 3 categories, although there's obviously differences based off the tiers within the categories. You've got the bronze chests, which is access to the beta, Kickstarter exclusive bronze cards, which as far as I'm aware are just the regular cards, but they've got bronze sleeves to them, which is always going to look nice. Entry to a bronze exclusive Kickstarter tournament. Then you got the silver chest, which for some reason I've written down here as silver check, which shows how much shows how well I organised this. And that way you get a priority access to the beta. Get to do it a lot quicker than everyone else. And of course you get silver card packs and silver cards, silver exclusive tournament, and the gold's much the same except a gold version. And as I mentioned, there are it's not just those free tier rewards. There are, of course, separate tiers based on those chests, which give you various additional stuff. Additional rewards per tier include wallpapers, card packs, alternative artwork, which I really like. I really like that one. Alternative artwork is awesome. A digital art book, as far as I'm aware. I don't think it's physical at any point. They made a point about how they want to make it so that just as many things, that the money all contributes towards the game. So they're not making physical sort of rewards, which I think is a really nice idea. Admittedly, I would like a physical art book, but well, I'd like to be able to afford the digital art book at all. But again, broke. I can only sort of pay for like 10 quid towards it. I would gladly pay more if I could, but not got the money for it. Access to developer design forums, which means you can sort of like suggest sort of like certain design choices and such, which is cool. And at the highest one, around I think it's 5,000 quid, you can actually sort of have your own card, which I think is you get to appear in one of the cards as a sort of Fable version of yourself, which is really cool. Kind of wish that sort of the being able to design your own card thing was a little bit lower, because I'd love an opportunity to promote Grin Brothers, putting Ruffy and mine's avatars. But of course, again, even if it was like 500, I wouldn't be able to afford it. Again, that's why I made this, because, I feel guilty about not being able to put more money forward to sort of Kickstarters that look really cool and look really great. And one of the great things about this Kickstarter is that you've got, so much of the gameplay there. Like, for instance, Ukulele. They had a gameplay demonstration all ready to go, and there's a lot of gameplay to demonstrate with Fable Fortune already. They just, need the 250,000 to give it that final push. And oh wait, that's all the stuff at the bottom is stuff I actually managed to remember. So yeah, those are the main things I actually wanted to mention. I'm really hoping that Fable Fortune Kickstarter manages to succeed. As you know, I was devastated at the closure of Lionhead Studio. Fable 2 is one of my favourite games on the Xbox 360. The original Fable was one of my favourite games on the Xbox. Blinks the Cat still beats it. Again, I never actually got to really properly play those games myself, on the original Xbox, because I never owned an original Xbox. But that's going off topic, but yeah. And I was really looking to Fable Legends. Alongside Sunset Overdrive and Ori and the Blind Forest, it was the sort of reason I got myself an Xbox One. And I even got myself a pair of headphones to play with Fable Legends. But then it being cancelled, and even worse, Lionhead Studios as a whole got discontinued. I think I said those in the opposite order. Lionhead Studios got completely shut down, which was really saddening. But this is a chance to, show the world, and Microsoft in particular, and Flaming Fowl Studios, although I think they know, that we want to see the Fable IP continue, and we want to see the world of Fable continue. Of course, it's not Fable 4 like many people would be wanting, but I think the charm to Fable isn't strictly just the RPG adventure aspect to it, more so the lore, the settings, and the sort of characters, and of course the humour, the style. Fable is memorable to me outside of just its sort of core gameplay. It's memorable because of the world, and because of the whole style that Lionhead Studios manages to bring across to it. And Flaming Fowl Studios is, in my opinion, the best chance of seeing that sort of style continued, and for the spirit of Fable to be carried on, be it through this card game, which I will note, I absolutely love card games, so even if it wasn't Fable sort of Fortune, if it was just, this is a game made by Lionhead Studios developers, and this is a game releasing on consoles, like definitely on consoles, then of course I'd be backing it either way. But Fable, being it Fable related, makes me want to back it even more. So I'm really hoping this succeeds, because I really want it to. It looks so much fun. I definitely urge you all to, any of you who happen to be listening, to give a check out of the Kickstarter, check out some of the videos, see if you like it. And if you like what you see, if you like Fable, want to see, the spirit of that series continued, if you like trading card games, if, like Rafi pointed out, you're annoyed at Hearthstone recent balance issues, have a look and see if you want to back it. I hope you do, because I can't contribute much outside of this. This is my best way of contributing towards them. And now, hopefully, the Ceylon tea should be cooler, so I'm going to give it a try. That's very nice. It's got a slightly sharp taste. I think the milk has kind of smoothed the edge to it, as it were. Like, I imagine there'd be like a slight aftertaste, you know, a stronger kick, but the milk has kind of smoothed it down. A little bit hard to describe. Of course, being a black tea, I always go, you know, it's an English breakfast first, and then sort of base the flavour off that. And yeah, it's got like definitely a sharper taste to it. It isn't bitter sharp, but it's like a stronger sort of flavour, and I imagine it'd be having a nice kick afterwards if it wasn't for the fact that the milk has sort of smoothed it down. It's very nice though. Very nice tea. Anyway, that was my kickoff for Fable Fortune. I've basically gone over everything I needed to about it, and I hope you check it out, and I will have a link to the Kickstarter below. Cheerio, everyone!